Hey everybody, what's up? Circus here coming at you with what? Another top 10 list. That's right. Last time we did the most impactful cards in the game. This time we're going to do the most overhyped cards slash decks in the game. And I'm sure already you guys are disagreeing with us, even though we haven't even listed one yet. But remember, these are just our opinions, right, Rye?
It's true. You know what you guys should do? You should pause the video, get Notepad out, top 10 what you think is going to be on the list, hit play, see how it goes
Oh, there
for
you go. Yeah.
your
We'll wait.
brain.
We'll wait right here. We'll wait.
Well, we'll wait in the pause menu.
Right,
We're
right.
going to keep going.
Exactly. All right, so we'll get right into it. The first one, when Ryan mentioned or had put the list, I'm like, what was that one again?
What?
And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, yeah.
This is the only one that most of you probably have never heard of before. I promise you, Hyper Psychic Riser. The
Yeah,
only reason this even got any notice is because the wielder tracker combo was very popular
yeah.
when it kind of first came out, and then this came out really, really close to it. So people were reading the effect and like, oh, that sounds so good. And then they realized that it's like really easy to swing over and doesn't really do anything.
Well, yeah, because it's only like
Rather,
2,000 attack or something, right? So
yeah.
it,
So
it prevents your
it
own
was
monsters from attacking is the problem, not just
it
your
was
opponents.
it was overhyped for properly like 24 hours, but it was a funny
Right.
24
It
hours.
went through the Twitch Discord community that we're part of. It just went through it real quick,
It
just
just
like
went wild, and then people were like, "Yeah, actually, just kidding. I don't know what was going on there."
All right. We'll move on to the next one. Now, this one, I think, was just people really wanting a structure deck to be good, and they saw this coming
Yeah.
out, and they're just like, this is going to be a one card combo.
Oh.
One card combo, Rye.
Oh man, I hate that word combo.
Oh, God. Now, here we go.
Yeah,
Assault
no.
mode.
This was up until this point, it was one of those things where it was like every EX structure deck is meta relevant
Right.
when it comes out. But even when the ones that were old, Silent Magician, Ancient Gear, all these great structure decks were amazing for the
Right.
game, and it was really cool because a lot of people were like, even if you don't have the most expensive deck. And now we're not at this point. We're not doing any more free to play decks. Things like Amazon's, Cyber
Yeah.
Angels that they don't exist in the game anymore. It kind of came down to, well, okay, what if you're willing to spend less than $20
A
to
little
make a
bit.
deck?
Yeah. Just a little
Would you?
bit.
Is that fine? And a lot of people said, yeah, you know what? That's honestly, I'd rather spend 20 guaranteed dollars and have a deck instead of spend 20, probably have nothing, spend 20 more, probably have nothing, spend 20 more, and still have
Ancient
nothing
Gears
at
was
the end
like
of
huge. I remember when that
it. Yep.
that one dropped. Like within
Everybody
minutes,
played.
everybody had it and was on the ladder with it.
Yeah, a few times it was like the best deck in the game, but most of the time it wasn't. But it didn't matter. It was just so cheap and so
It was
good at
everywhere.
winning games that it was just everywhere. It was insane.
I remember,
Um,
not even kidding. I'm not even making this up. On the ladder, I actually counted. I got so frustrated. 12 games in a row against Ancient Gears.
I believe it. You could literally have the whole deck just from the structure. And there was very few. There was like Breaker the Magical Warrior that you could invest to make it a little bit better. But for the
Right.
most part, just playing D-Spell was good enough. And yeah, Assault mode came
Was
out, and
not
people,
that deck.
yeah, people were like, listen, people were like, no, EX structure, because before that, there was the ritual one.
Right.
And people almost lost
Master
hope,
of
but then
Chaos.
Keeper of
Yeah.
Dragon Magic came out of nowhere and made a tier 1 Neos deck. So everyone was like,
Right.
oh, Konami tried to bait us. It's all good. Don't worry. Assault mode, same thing will happen. Assault mode came out. It was completely doo-doo. It was not even close to being good. It was nowhere near being good. It was awful. It was awful. And then people were like, okay, maybe they
Next
messed
one.
up with
Next
this
one. Yeah.
one. Maybe the next one, maybe the main box will have some cards. Maybe that's the thing. Now they want a little bit more money. They want you to get the structure and then spend a little bit on the box just to get like some R's and normals. We did get that sport. Still terrible.
Right.
Still absolutely terrible. And people still held on. They were like, okay, well, assault mode Stardust Dragon is coming, assault mode this is coming, assault mode that is coming. It didn't matter what we got, it didn't matter what we didn't get. It just never worked out. And pretty much every structure since then has not really, it's nowhere near the same impact as the Ancient Gears or any of these other structures that we got. And for the most part, I mean, besides the Cowboy one, which isn't an EX, you buy that once and you're pretty much it. Everything else is like the big reason, the biggest one, Dragoonity, that you would go into it is because you get bad aim after that. Who cares
Right.
if you get Dragoonity? If I get Dragoonity, I have to go into a main box to make it work, and it's a nerf deck that doesn't even function very well right
If
now.
it were
So
if it were a real life structure deck, you take the 2 bad aims out and then you just throw the rest away.
yeah, pretty much. That's in real life. You'd look at him like, oh yes, my bad aims. Oh, get that out of here.
Right.
That's how it would be. So
I
I
actually
guess
did see someone playing the Red Dragon Archfiend version of Assault Mode on the ladder the other day, where they're
yeah.
using that, but
So it just kind of comes
it's
down
still
to,
out there.
like it was severely hyped when it was mentioned. It was only hyped because people were like, yeah, EX structure decks, they are
Yep.
always meta decks. This thing though, Konami, they change their minds rapidly. So don't look for those patterns.
Yep.
Uh, but there you go.
Assault Mode. Ass
Oh,
Mode, as
well,
most people called it.
ass mode.
Yeah. All right, the next one. SSA. This one, I remember when it came out. This was a little bit longer period of hypeness, right? Because when it came out, it was
Hmm.
dominant for a
Hmm.
month, and then a new box came out, and it went bye bye.
See stealth attack, and it's still relatively. You Cristrons use it, for example. Sometimes use level duplication instead. But I think when people really, when it was that dominant for that month, that singular month, people were really hyping it up. They were really like, "Yeah, man, if you don't have C stealth attack, like you've already lost. You can't even compete. This deck's gonna be so good for so long." And it just didn't end up happening. Not
I
even,
remember like
literally a month that we didn't.
YouTubers, Twitch streamers, everybody. If you're a new player, you need to go into this box. You need to get this card,
Yeah.
and
It was literally
yeah,
because C stealth attack functioned like super heavy rush, or what, super rush headlong,
yep,
whatever.
yep.
Whatever it was called, something like that. And people and at that time, people consider that card to be very, very, very strong. So being able to do that every single turn was considered
And
mind-bogglingly
you could
powerful.
protect it, and you could like
Yeah.
save your
So
monsters with it, and yeah,
but after that, Konami was like, "Yeah, we're Attack of the First." It's like, "Oh God, it's over." So I don't know. Like it was definitely hyped. It was definitely strong for a while, but it was not as strong as people made it out to be. There was
yeah.
still counters to it, and then ultimately, once people had wasted all their money, a better box came along that was just infinitely better.
Well, that was the beginning of like the period in history everybody remembers. I can't remember the exact order, but it was like Sea Stealth Attack or that deck, and then like the 3 next boxes were all meta. It was like spell
Yeah,
books, Sylvans, for hire. I mean, it was just like
yeah.
all in a row.
And it just literally did not last whatsoever compared to those other boxes that last a
Yeah,
very long time. So
yeah, that was a
there you go.
crazy time in Duel Links because it was like everybody was like you wanted to invest but you didn't because like every time a box came out, the next like tier 1 deck came out, and you're just like, oh
Yeah.
my god.
Should I hold? Should I hold? Should I hold? Yeah.
Right. But if you had all those decks, you were doing pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, the next one was pretty hype, and it was oppressive in a way at first, because there wasn't like a lot of outs to it at first, but then people started figuring out how to play around it. But people thought this was going to be the next big thing, and that was Ubel.
Yeah. So Ubel, very interesting deck because it never really was good in a way. Most of the wins that it got is because people just didn't know any better.
Right.
Um, when I saw Ubel, I was like, yeah, I don't know why people are overhyping this. This is so crazy back then. Um, and then I realized people don't understand how to read the cards properly and did know nothing about chain links or how to miss timing or anything like that.
Right.
Because I would see people, they would have the cards to get rid of Ubel, maybe not lethal that turn, but definitely get rid of Ubel, and they just would not do it. They just
Right.
weren't doing it, and that ultimately came down to a lack of knowledge. The deck really never was like this amazing, super powerful deck. You could argue that the Ubel Nephthys deck, could have been arguably meta, maybe at a tier 3 at most. But you just kind of sit down and go like, yeah, this is like learning opportunity rather than being a good deck. Where
Right.
it's like, okay, now you're gonna learn how to play some proper Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right.
Now
I think
we're
that's
getting to
when
that
people
point.
first had to learn and like actually, oh, there's a chain link too? Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't just click cards and everything
Right.
gets decimated. And even if you don't have anything, just don't summon anything, so you don't constantly just play your Sphere Karibos. If they summon any other monsters, that Ubel's going to take out the monsters on its own. And Yeah, the deck was just never really that powerful. It was just people did not know how to play against it. People that didn't watch Twitch and YouTube and watch the educational streams back then. They watched just their favorite player, and they would just misplay into Ubel over and over and be like, this deck is broken. I can't believe it.
Right.
So I think this is more just like a Duel Links as a whole rather than like the competitive community. Duel Links as a whole just way overhyped this archetype more than they were okay, but not that great.
Right. Well, once people learned how to play against it, and I don't think there was as many decks at the time that really had the means to take care of it. It was like not everybody had just like pop a card in the end phase kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
There was stuff like TTH and stuff like that, and
Right, but not every
there
deck was running it, so
yeah.
it had good matchups for like a while. Because if you remember, this deck was like everywhere. It seemed like,
Mhm.
especially on the ladder, it seemed like everybody was
Yeah,
playing it.
it was so easy to get.
Right, yeah. So I mean, you had to learn how to play against that deck.
Yeah,
But once you did, then it was like, get out of here.
there you go.
Yeah. All right, next one or next two. I think we just covered this one earlier this week in our new box review. Very hyped. It's XZ's time of the year. The new decks. Even Rye was saying Boujins looking pretty good. Tellers and
Yep.
Boujins.
Tellers and Boujins. I don't really like putting newer cards on these lists, but like when I was thinking about it, Teller Knights specifically, people were swarming to watch that deck. People were voting it like
Right.
crazy to watch. I've never seen so many people vote in my life, and a lot of people were saying like this deck will be good, and it kind of goes to show you never trust your instincts. Wait until that first week is over, until you get tournament
Yeah.
results, because it's just one of those things where it's like, yo, it's actually really bad how bad these decks are.
And
um
we try to kind of warn people about the Teller Knights. If you remember, we were doing the Yu-Gi-Oh!
yeah, we're
Omega,
doing Omega, where it's like,
and
yeah,
we're
if you
like,
have a good ban list, it's not gonna go through.
we're like, right now it doesn't seem awesome, but we're waiting for event cards, we're waiting for ban lists. We were like
Yeah,
trying to like, temper everybody's expectations. If you guys go back and watch those videos, we're
yeah.
like, we
So
don't
I guess
know
I guess
yet, but
I guess this category can be Teller, Bujins, and then whatever leaked cards are coming. You can kind of pretty much put them
right.
all here. Just be careful, guys, what you expect, because maybe Tellers will be good. Maybe it'll be a Blackwing situation and they're really good in the future, but as of right now, that deck was extremely hyped. You had so many people coming like, yeah, from TCG, this deck was tier 0 and it's going to be tier 0 here, believe me. And it just
This
didn't
ain't
happen.
the TCG, buddy.
The
Yeah.
TCG though, but yeah, so
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. Next one is a personal dislike of mine. It is what we consider a new player trap. And
Oh
we've
yeah.
actually made a video about it that I'll link in the description of this video.
People do not.
They're so defensive too. Oh my god, they're so defensive of this one.
People like to close their brains and say super heavies is good because super heavies gets them easy ladder wins, right? Like let's be
Super heavy
honest.
samurai. Oh my god, disgusting. Get out of here.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's just one of those scenarios where super heavy samurai, it's just kind of like, well, what is the point of playing super heavy samurai? Is you OTK, it's really powerful in that respect, but what happens when witchcraft negates you? Well, you lose. Okay, so there's nothing I can do.
Right.
Yeah, can I play spell traps? No. You don't.
We've
We don't play.
eliminated that part of the game.
That's not a thing that you do here. And then you go, oh, so I literally just this is the deck, and they're like, this is the deck. Congratulations.
If
So
your
it's just
opening
one of
hand doesn't guarantee victory, you simply move on to the next one.
yeah,
It's
it's
that
just one of those
simple.
scenarios where I sit down and think like, if I were a new player, I would not want someone to recommend this deck for me because I'm not going to learn proper Duel Links. I'm not going to learn about chain. I remember when Dark Magicians were exploding in popularity, they just got
Right.
Circle, and I remember reading a thread on Reddit where it was like. It was like the same post that every time a new box came out, I saw the post. People were like, "Oh, don't worry, guys, Super Heavy Samurai it's gonna be it's gonna be great." And then of course Circle came out and Super Heavies came out, and people are like, oh, I think actually Super Heavy Samurai is gonna be the best way to go from this box because you can just negate the Circle. And I was like, okay, so what happens? Just hear me out. Just hear me
Just
out. You want to
hypothetically, I'm just gonna throw this out
you want
there.
to you want to negate the Circle with your flute. What if they use Circle and then chain rod and they chain block you? And this guy, he literally posted messages me back, "What is chain blocking?" And I was like, "Oh no, oh no."
I'm out. I'm done. I'm
So
done.
I was just like, yeah, I mean, it's just a very simplistic deck. I'd much rather, if you're new to the game, you play something that has spells and traps so you can learn about the interactions,
Timing,
timing,
activations. Yeah.
everything. It's all so important. Then this deck does not teach you those things. But people, because they're able to get these easy wins because they're OTKing, and they just feel like they're gods and best of ones. It's literally, and I'm telling you right now, the only reason it happens is because people aren't expecting you to play super heavy samurai. So then they load in with no counters to it, and then they lose. In a best of 3, there are so many cards you can side
Right.
that would immediately end you. So
I feel like there's a Reddit post right now out there that we could probably look up where someone said, "All right, I'm going into the box. I got my wagon, but I don't have the circle. Do I reset?" And someone
oh
was like,
god,
"Yes, reset now,
yeah,
immediately. Don't even
it's
think
bad.
about
The amount of hype this deck has generated for how bad it is just unbelievable. So the entire super heavy, they go on here.
it." Circus, right? I don't agree. This is a good deck. Oh my
Hey man,
god.
listen, if you know proper Duel Links and you know what you're doing and you're just playing them for fun, I have no complaints with
Right,
you.
right.
But I'm telling you right now, if you right there, type in the comment up right now, you've only ever played
Oh,
super heavy samurai
yeah.
and you've never played anything else, please try and learn Duel Links properly. Get your floodgates, get your Canadia, get your Cosmic
Get in
Cyclones,
the Discord. We'll help
and
you.
get in the Discord. We'll help you.
We'll
We'll
help
teach
you
you how to play.
anonymously. We'll give
Even
you
if
a
even
fake
if you have to
name.
play
Yeah.
Lunalights, that's
Yes, we'll
still like
figure it
you have
out.
more play with Lunalights than
Yes.
Super Heavy.
We'll get you back on track. All right, let's move on. We'll stop beating up on them. Next one, I'm kind of surprised this one is here. I mean, you're saying it's overhyped, but it sees usage, man. It gets the job done.
So there's a really specific reason this is so high up on the list.
Okay, all right,
Selection boxes.
all right.
So
Offerings to the Dune. Yeah,
when this came out, people were like, "No, guys, selection boxes are the worst. You shouldn't have these really strong, overpowering cards in selection boxes. It shouldn't be this way. These are way too strong. They need to come out as soon as possible." And then it was irrelevant. No one played Offerings to Doom until very, very lately, well after Selection Box happened. So everyone was like, "Oh, it's all fine." And then
yep,
Fiendish Chain happened. Whoops! Oh lordy! Oh,
yep.
we have made some huge mistakes. Um,
But I mean, it still gets played till today. I mean, I guess I can see what you're saying about the hype, but it's still a very useful card because some of
yeah,
the stuff we have on this
it's
list
more
isn't even useful. You know,
yeah, it's more the drama that was around the selection box of this being in the selection box
right,
and how it ultimately ended up not being used like at all. It's being used now for
right.
sure. But back then when it was released, you really never saw this card because losing your draw power back then pretty much meant you were going to lose.
Right, but you
The-
could attack in with your Armades into a winged Karibo, right? You attack in with our Armades, an effect goes off. You offerings to the Doom
that's how
on the
you do
winged
it.
Karibo.
That's the way to go. No,
And
it's
then
definitely better now because we have more draw power and it sees play even today in Karakuri and stuff like that.
yeah,
Um, but and the card is good. I'm not saying the card is bad, but the whole drama
the whole
behind it,
thing
where it was
around
a
it coming
selection
out.
box, and like people were like, "No, this card should not exist." And this is when things were like Necro Valley was in the selection box, and people were okay with that.
Right.
But this card, no, you can't do that. And then literally no one played it. No one played it until it came out officially, and then people started playing it, and I was like, okay, then what's all this drama for? And then Fiendish Chain happened. I was like, oh, okay, now I see what the drama's
Right.
about.
Now I remember when that card came out. Oh my god.
And now,
That
now
was
that it's
dirty.
officially come out, Karma Cut's better. Imagine
Yep. All right. This next one I would almost argue should be number 1.
that. You could
This is
honestly
This has
interchange
like
the
been like along with Super Heavy Samurai been like an inside joke among DLE for like the longest time. We used to do a show called Garbage Phase on Saturday nights where we would actually keep a counter on the screen about how many times we ran into this card on ladder, and it would just it'd be by the end of the night it'd be like 15 or something like that.
yeah.
Power of the Guardians.
This
I
card, the bane of my existence. And you can still to this day, if you go down to like silver, gold, low plat elo,
yeah
you or I literally before I think today before I was playing in a official Yu-Gi-Oh tournament and I was practicing some decks in the ladder. This man played Magician's Robe, the 500 attack, 2000 defense, Dark Magician monster,
yeah
equipped Power the Guardian, and said, "Your turn. I'm good." I was like, "Okay, I guess I win." I don't
Yeah.
understand what this is.
I love it when
Uh,
they equip it and it's like, I have like 3 Canada, right? I'm sitting
yeah,
at Canada. So as
it,
soon as you go
it
into
just
that
it
battle phase.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So, Power of the Guardian, it's a huge noob trap. When you first
Yeah.
see it, first time you ever encounter in your life, you feel like, oh my god, this is really, really good because I can't swing into it, I can't destroy your monster. But then you start realizing you can cosmic the Power of the Guardian, you can flip the monster face down, you
Right.
can banish the monster with karma. There are so many ways to get past this thing,
Right.
but it
Even when
just
it came out, there were these ways. You got to
yeah,
remember,
like
there was
only time.
Cosmic, there was Canada when this card came out.
The only time it was relevant was when Red
Slash.
Eyes took
Yeah.
it, and that was only because Red Eyes could specifically use like protect it, and it would just
Right.
totally protect itself
Yeah.
because of like a toxic board state that kind of
Right.
existed. But beyond that, and honestly, once people started doing that, they're like, "Oh, I guess I'll just spellbook of Fate the Red Eyes and call it a day."
Right.
Even then, it was just like, "Yeah, let's
Oh wait, it
non-target
doesn't
this."
target? Oops.
So it's a noob trap, and I understand why people get it because they might get it through the structure. It's an R, it's super cheap, and then they get it and realize, yeah, I've been having so much trouble with this guy's 30 card deck, normal monster summon spam, but I can just equip Power of the Guardian, and even if he has a higher attack mode monster, he can't swing over me. I'm good. It's so bad. It's a huge noob trap, and people still overhype it. Not in the
Yeah.
competitive scene. It's a meme in the competitive scene, but overall in the community scene, I guarantee you can go to Reddit right now and you can find people complaining about how good Power of the Guardian is,
Right.
and Power of the Guardian needs to be limited. I actually think people are memeing, but no, they're dead serious.
They're
If you
dead
try to
serious. Yeah. I'm always surprised
argue with
too. I'm
them,
like,
they're always yeah, they're always like, no, no, no. This card, tell me how this isn't broken. This card protects your monster. It
gains
gives you attack
attack.
points. And I'm like, okay, I Canadier it. Now what?
Right.
They're like, now what? And they never respond because they,
Right.
obviously
Wait,
they don't have
what?
Canadier.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So super overhyped card. You could definitely make an argument for number one just off of non-competitive
Yeah.
people, but it is mind blowing how many people think this card's good.
All right, the next one, this was pretty hype because this was a hot TCG deck, I guess. And to me, it's always been a bit of a joke. I saw this and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
These
This is
guys are
over.
mermaids. Why are we getting excited about this? And I guess I kind of gave it away there, but mermaids, that they were just never a thing in
Yeah.
Duel Links ever.
Well, it was weird because they were considered pretty much the best deck at a time in TCG.
Right.
But I don't understand why people, when it came here, we already had cards that were released after Mermails were a thing in TCG. So I don't know why
Right.
people automatically, and I think this kind of comes to a problem where people play TCG, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever, and they played competitive, and then they come back to Duel Links because they're just messing on their phone, like, oh, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! And download it, and think, yeah, if something was good in TCG, automatically it'll be good
Right.
in a Duel Links setting. But it is a different format, and that's something that
Completely
you guys have
different.
to
Yeah.
remember. No main phase 2, which means the whole trap situation is different. Quick play spells are significantly weaker. Hand traps like Sphere Kuriboh, putting your opponent into defense mode, are so much stronger when you don't have a main phase 2. Put them back into attack mode. And this was another deck that played no spells or traps. They only had the Abyssal Sphere.
Right.
So it was just one of those scenarios where we're like, oh, you can't do that. Like, you need spells and traps. That this game has pretty much been dominated from the beginning with spells and traps. Even when they weren't that relevant, it was because of a deck like AG's that was controlling spells and
Right.
traps.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I don't even know what to say about this. It was just never was. It just never was.
it came in and did some things in Team War, Clan War stuff, but it was like one
Did it?
guy,
Okay,
but
okay. Yeah, I don't even remember. That's
it was never really,
yeah.
it never went off. And even to today, people are like, when Mermail XCs come out, let me tell you.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
like, bro,
All right.
come on, man. Like, just give it up. Just
We're
wait for
waiting.
them to do
We'll
something,
wait.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess right now, since we're getting ready to do number one, what we want to do first is honorable mentions, right?
Honorable mention, Circus, you have the floor on this one.
I guess my most overhyped cards or deck would be Arrow Mages. I'm sorry, they're right up there with Super Heavy Samurai. There's nothing wrong with the deck. I already hear people typing, but people like, it's cheap to go into, and it's like, you know what? If you even spend 50 gems on that deck, that's 50 gems I'd rather put towards a Canadian. You could
Yeah,
say to
no,
me, Circus, you can have one Canadia or a fully functioning Arrow Mage deck, and I would take that one Canadia any
oh
day of the
god.
week.
It's one of those things where, I think honorable mention is the best place to put it. It's not exactly on the list because it has accomplished things in the game. It's just
Yeah,
one of those decks,
it breaks
though,
into
where
the
you
top 8 once every 3 months. It's
yeah,
great,
it's just one of
man.
those decks where you're like, man, if you get Black Rosed, what do you do again? And
Right.
nothing. If they get Black Rose, they straight up lose. Every single time I've
Yeah.
seen it happen, Black Rose Dragon into immediate scoop for Arrow
Yeah.
Mage. It's so disgusting. And yeah, it's just one of those decks that's just super cheap. Has pretty card art that people like and will give them a bunch of life points, making them feel safe. That's really what it comes down to.
I only spent 1,500. I only spent 4,000 gems. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. Ugh.
especially when there's like a gem sale going on. I think like there's one still going on right now.
Yeah.
1,500 to 4,000 gems or whatever you would
It's
spend on
it's a
Arrow
fan
Mages.
favorite, but
Whew.
no one ever wants to watch it because it's so slow. So there you go.
Yeah, that's just my honorable mention. It's a new player trap.
Um,
Stay away.
the
Stay away.
only the only honorable mention I have is Karakuri when they first came out, not the most recent Karakuri, and
Yeah.
that's why I didn't list them. When Karakuri came out, they were meta for like 2 weeks or something, and then people realized, wait, Kawaki Miru in the same box is actually broken.
Right.
So they quickly took over
Yeah.
from there, but
So it was a
they're
deck.
good. They're good now, so can't really put them on the list.
I remember having people on our podcast that we used to do talk about how great Karakuri was because you could draw your whole deck, and I'm like, what are you drawing
And then
into?
you do nothing.
What are you drawing into?
That
You
was
know,
the problem. There was nothing you made.
your
that could
engine
draw
is like
people back.
18 cards. You know,
Yeah,
you have two
pretty much.
tech cards you're drawing into. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Actually, Circus, the core of the deck was 13 cards, not 8. I know it's called an exaggeration, but my point was like, what are you drawing into at the time? That was the whole thing. That's why I was overhyped. All right, and number one, this has got to be it. This I know it's kind of recent, but the word tier 0 was being used before this. Like, as soon as like someone breathed the word Infernity,
People lose their mind.
yeah, it was like tier
Yeah.
0.
Infernity is another deck that's super TCG, right? And had a lot of fans in TCG, and it was really good in TCG. But it's just always been interesting with this deck. For example, people were saying there was people in real life getting caught cheating by setting their Infernity monsters in the spell trap zone,
Oh
and
yeah,
if their opponent, and then they would get the handless combo off.
right.
Obviously, you can't do something like that in Duel Links, so that was always interesting.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's not the main reason the deck failed. There's plenty of other reasons, but it didn't help also that within the first week of it winning, it won a tournament, won a battle phase, so people were just
oh
losing
that
their
just went.
mind.
Oh yeah,
But in reality, it was just
it
an
was shiny
amazing player, Shiny
Sophion. Yeah.
Sophion. Shout outs to her. Had he was opening fucking Heat Wave and True Nade every game, and you were like, okay, there's a reason you won. I'm gonna go ahead and say it's not Infernity.
It was a true for the deck. It was a Cinderella story. You know, it hit
It
midnight
really
and then
was.
bam, it's over.
Everything just worked out for her, and it worked, and it did win again eventually, but it was like right
Months
before
later,
Xyz
yeah.
came out. So it was just one of those scenarios where I understand why people wanted the deck to work out. But when you said, for example, Infernity's in top 8, that was like our second most viewed stream. Everybody showed up. They were like,
Right.
I want to
Yeah.
watch this happen. People in Discord were talking about it. People in chat were like, oh my God, you guys are blowing up the internet with Infernity. And then immediately, just next day, flat on its face.
Well, next day, like the next tournament we had, there was
Yeah.
a bum
No
rush
one
of
played.
Infinities into the tournament, and then
And
nothing
none of them
happened.
won. So
Might be the pilot. It might be the
it's
pilot.
hard. It's really hard to say this was not the most hyped deck of all time to ultimately, not really accomplish too terribly much. Yeah, they won tournaments, but that's more of
Right.
people to know what was going on, and the banned cards and stuff like that. Now with True Nade and everything, and even to this day, people are like, "Oh, when we get the XCs, when we get those good XCs, Infernity, it's happening.
Right.
Today's the
I'm
day."
sure it is. That's that.
I think the deck just there's way too much going on for 3 spots on the board.
Yeah,
Like
it's just
one
not a
good
big enough
floodgate,
board. Yeah.
one good floodgate, and that's the end. You lose.
Yep.
So
You hit
I
that
don't know.
tuner, it's over. Yep.
Yeah, you can if you guys want to see more Infernity, go watch the VODs. There's some crazy VODs out there of Infernity players. And you could easily see, like, hey, listen, I know you won, but if you're opening up Heatwave every game, any deck can win under those scenarios.
Right. Yeah. What's winning the game here? What's actually
Yeah.
winning the game?
Yeah, I could do the same thing with Black Wings. Let's go.
Right. All right. So that's our top 10 list. We want to know what your top 10 list is. So, of course, do it in the chat below. I can't wait to see some of them because I'm sure people will be like, what about this? I think the first top 10 list we did, people were mad that we didn't include Amazons in one of the top 10 best decks of all time. So tell us what we missed this time, guys. And make sure to get in our Discord. We got a lot going on there. That's where we hold all of our tournaments. If you haven't played in a tournament before, our tournaments are great entry points for people into the community. They're a lot of fun and they're always free. So check those out. And then we have a new player channel in the Discord where we can help you get ready for it. Basically, you just
There you
come
go.
in and we got tons of people waiting around to answer your questions, standing by to answer your questions. So make sure to get in there. All right. So we're going to get out of here. I'm Circus. That's Rye.
Farewell, YouTube.
See ya.